welcome to a new episode of our SIMC Alumni podcast. It's actually the third episode and of this format, and so it means there are already two existing, and we would like to invite you, of course, to listen to them. But of course, after this one, in this SIMC Alumni podcast series, we are going to talk about SIMC old memories, the SIMC program itself, learnings and skills which you develop and which you gain during the program. And as well, we want to talk about potential career opportunities of current and future SIMCs. And some, for example, as well about job entries, application writing, and of course, depending on the guest, about job interviews. So quick follow-up. My name is Leonard Bäumer. I'm a SIMC double degree student, actually, incoming in the second year. My host university is Católica Lisbon in Portugal. And would you like to introduce yourself as well, Irina?
Hi, yes, my name is Irina Vaskan. I am an intake 2025 of SIMC, but as you have noticed, we are not just two SIMCs here today. We brought a third SIMC alumna with us, a very exciting guest. This is Markus Raunig. He was a SIMC President 2015-2016 and now works as a chairman of AustrianStartups and advises the Austrian Ministry in topics like startups and entrepreneurship. And last but not least, he's already very experienced in making podcasts, as he leads a Austrian #1 tech podcast called Future Weekly. Welcome, Markus, and please, if I forgot anything, don't hesitate to add onto it.
Thanks for the invite. I'm super happy to be back in the SIMC fold. I think one thing that you could still maybe add is, because it's quite recent, we started a foundation called the Entrepreneurial Future Foundation, which aims to make Austria and Europe more entrepreneurial, because we believe this is necessary if we want to survive as a business location also. And that's my newest baby, if you want.
Congrats.
Yeah, that sounds very good. Yeah, we already have seen that you manage a lot of jobs at the same time and that you are in a lot of boards. But before we dive deep in your career, I want to ask you, what is one more core memory of your time at SIMC Connect, and that still sticks with you even 10 years after? Do you have anything in mind which pops up quickly, or maybe after some seconds?
No, it's lots of good memories. I mean, I met my wife at SIMC, so I think there you definitely have a very good one. But I think so many crazy moments and memories, from, I don't know, sauna raves to naked night skiing to all-nighters in these simulation games that you do as part of your studies, where in our case there was another student who actually cracked the algorithm of the game. So he somehow ran a regression analysis, and through that completely went in a completely opposite direction of everyone else in the game. And I still remember being very determined to still compete with that, and spend long nights together finding ways to still win this game, which we unfortunately didn't. I think we only got second in the end. But yes, I think it's lots of good and slightly crazy memories.
Okay, crazy. Yeah, sounds very good and positive experience. And when you look back at your time at SIMC, do you still remember like a skill you developed within SIMC? I mean, when we look at our program today, we have a lot of presentations. So we learn how to present a lot and how to manage strategically. Do you have any skill in mind which you developed at this time? I mean, probably it was a little bit different context.
It's a good question. I think actually presenting is very much something that you just practice. And yes, I think in SIMC we did practice that a lot. At the same time, I think if I look back, what really was an aha moment in SIMC is just how much more fun and how much more enjoyable it is to work with people who are equally driven, equally ambitious, equally intelligent, equally who equally believe that they can actually have an impact and change things out there. And to see that difference when you work with SIMCs in another group exercise, it actually also, I think, made me better realize and get a better feel for what to look for in interviews. And when I'm hiring teams now, I do want to really look for people who want to push the limits, because it's just, this is contagious if you have it in the team, and if not, then it's actually dragging you down. So I think their SIMC is a great school of both knowledge, but also of just the community that exists there. Yeah,
and we cannot lie. Suffering, puts people together and forms group cohesion. That's of course. Maybe when we look at startups at this time, so you already told us when you hire someone for your startup endeavor, what you're looking for, but what would you say, which skill pushed you forward into this startup thing? Okay, well, what is one skill which is particularly interesting for startups?
Maybe not the skill, but it again comes down to belief. I think what really, if you look at the SIM community also over the years, if you look at what the program is today and what it was at the beginning and all the things happening as part of SIM Connect, that's all been crafted by students. It's all been done by people who thought this can be better, this can be changed, this can be invented, this can be added to the program. And I think this is the mindset that you learn in SIMC, and this is exactly what you need if you want to start a startup or start a company in general. You need this strong personal belief that you yourself can do it.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you so much for your answer. Now that we're talking a bit more about startup and entrepreneurship world, my question was, were you always interested in this field? Because there are a lot of options that you can take after finishing SIMC. So we were wondering, have you come with this entrepreneurship mindset into SIMC and developed it further? Or like what impact had SIMC on the formation of your life direction?
Yeah, maybe SIMC and the organizations related to SIMC.
Yeah. So I think I already came into SIMC with the idea that I want to be an entrepreneur in the future. I actually fell in love with entrepreneurship when I started my own football club, an amateur football club, during school still, with my best friend, and that was in some way a great an eye-opener in a way that it showed me actually, because beforehand when I was really little, my parents didn't allow me to be a part of a football club because they didn't want to plan their weekends based on the schedule of a football club. Then I tried, I think when I was 13, 14, I tried out a few football clubs myself, and they were either what we call in German a Wursteltruppe, which means they don't take it seriously at all, or it was the opposite, hyper ambitious, where the parents are on the sidelines and pushing the kids to break each other's legs. So also not a nice environment. So I was always complaining about how there is not any nice football clubs to play in, and at some point my best friend told me, look, if you complain all the time, let's do it better ourselves, let's start our own football club. And that really opened my eyes in the way of how every problem is an opportunity, and also how much fun it is to actually build things. And this is what was, I think, the deciding factor where I said I want to be an entrepreneur myself, start things myself, also in a professional setting. And that's one of the reasons why I picked SIMC as the master studies that I want to do, because it is an entrepreneurial master program, and I was expecting this also to be an environment where this is nurtured and also as a springboard, if you want.
Yeah. Did you do your bachelor's here at VU?
Yes, I also did my bachelor's.
So you got the news. This is of course more about strategy innovation. I mean, obviously the name says it all, but what's really behind? Okay.
Yeah. No, I in the end I also met a few students. I met a few that also then went on to build very successful companies. So I think that was, for me, in the end, it's if you meet the current students, you always get a feel for in which direction it's going. And also the institute that is responsible for entrepreneurship at WU is clearly involved in the program. And there was also, at least back in our days in the curriculum, there was, for example, one course that was very much focused on building your own company.
Yeah, that sounds logical. And yeah.
I was also wondering, from your experience and perspective, is entrepreneurship is like something you're born with, like entrepreneurship gene or something, or can you learn it? And how can you learn it? Because it also comes with risk taking. People who are more tend to take more risk, more responsibility, and this is something that is also called as character traits.
Yeah.
So can we actually learn it, in your opinion?
Yes, I do believe it's a muscle. And I also believe that, unfortunately, at the moment in our educational system, that muscle is gravely underdeveloped. I think there is, our school system is still stuck in the 19th century, based on putting people as parts of a bigger system where they very much should be aligned with their job description. And that's where I think we need to find ways to make people experience building their own things early on, because this is how you actually awaken the entrepreneurial spirit in them and also start to train this muscle. I don't think you're born with it.
Yeah, that's always the question about nurturing and nature. Yeah.
Do you have any specific tips maybe for students that really aspire to be entrepreneurs but are still hesitant to take that step?
Just fucking do it. No, in the end, it really is, since it's a muscle, same way you just have to start going to the workouts. It's just starting at least some things that you build. Maybe at the beginning it's just a website, or it's some little project of yourself, but getting going, getting to act, I think that's the most important step. And of course, if on a professional level you don't feel ready to risk all of it in that sense and be dependent on that, I think it's also very helpful in that sense if you work in a very entrepreneurial environment. So ideally in a quite new company that might already be able to pay a salary, but at the same time you still see how the founders act, and you are probably in a very early stage company also. Immediately you have more ownership and more ability also to shape the company.
Yeah, that our main experience when you're doing internship or work in startups, for example. Yeah, totally makes sense. And it's a little bit aims at the same point, like when you are at university and your environment is very like innovative and push their limits to until it doesn't work anymore. Which makes total sense that when you are in a working environment, which is highly innovative, that you will maybe come up with your own idea at a certain point. Yeah. So maybe now after graduation. So let's put it into you're now graduated. So you're old you. What was your first step after graduating? So which job have you aimed at, or what was your first concrete step?
Mm-hmm. I actually already during my studies, I started, or I worked on a company together with two other SIMCs. So we were working on a startup. It was a stupid idea. It was the Friday night problem. So we were trying to tackle new ways to find great ways to spend your free time. So I build an algorithm that gives you recommendations what you could do tonight. Best club to go to, best event happening. And actually, if you look at that idea, I think it has been tried probably a few thousand times now all over the world, and it has never worked. It's a very... And actually, I think Paul Graham, who is, you could say he's the Yoda of Silicon Valley. So he's the founder of Y Combinator, And he actually wrote an article about good and bad ideas. And there, the bad idea that he took as an example was pretty much what we were doing. So was the wrong direction. It took us quite some time to work that out. It's maybe not the best idea, but we won lots of competitions and everyone told us what an amazing team we were. So we then pivoted. We did another idea, which I think had more potential, which was called Sponsor Bar. It was a marketplace for sponsorings. And but we were running out a bit of time. So we were graduating. So at some point we had to cover our running costs. So both of us started to look for part-time employment so that we work a bit on that and still could follow our startup idea. And for me, another SIMC actually recommended me for a job at AustrianStartups, the managing director role back then. AustrianStartups was a thriving community. But the idea was that someone comes in, takes over the management of the organization and professionalize it. So actually build an organization around this community, this reach that was present back then. And Bastian Rütter it was, who is now the founder of Flynn, another successful SIMC alumni startup. And he recommended me. We started talking. I was with the aim of doing this part-time, and then we developed visions where this could go, and it was perfect fit for my beliefs. It was exactly what I mentioned before, with my personal experience of this football club, and beforehand there was no way of having that in mind as a professional future. And my belief that it needs more entrepreneurship for us to keep our living standards. AustrianStartups was wonderful. So we practically fell in love. And then they told me, we want you, but only full time. And then I had a very, very difficult decision, one of the most difficult decisions in my life. And eventually decided I will give up my own startup and join AustrianStartups. And that worked out pretty well. And AustrianStartups has been the launchpad for a lot of the other initiatives that I've built around.
Yeah. Nowadays, you're the executive chairman of the AustrianStartups. And as we already mentioned, you do more jobs than just this at the same time. And that was a question about like time management and your work schedule. So since you do like 5-ish jobs at the same time, some board positions and advising and so on, what does your week look like? I mean, have you a specific weekday for podcast creation? Do you have, I don't know, blocked half a day for this board position? How does it look like?
So first of all, I think what helps with having all these different hats is that they're all aligned. Okay. All of them actually let me push in the same direction. And many of them are actually additive in a way that if the podcast is successful, that's also good for my work at AustrianStartups. And so if each of these positions, I think they somehow go hand in hand. And that makes it much easier. If all these positions would be completely different fields, different goals, that would be much more difficult to context switch all the time. But in that way, I think it's one general direction that I'm pushing for, and I do it with different hats. And my week, yes, we have Wednesday morning is a podcast recording morning, so that's half a day for that. But in general, I would say my week is split up in 3 different types of main activities. One is evangelism, so trying to spread our gospel, try to convince people to become entrepreneurs, to create better conditions for entrepreneurship, to bring it into schools. So in a way, making sure that people support our mission. The second one is fundraising. So somehow giving us the budget to actually go through with our work. That means talking to sponsors, talking to donors. We have 60 donors now in our foundation who give between 10 and 200K to enable us to do our work there. So this is a lot of meetings to take, a lot of people to get on board. And the third one is management in terms of, especially on a strategic level. So at AustrianStartups, we have 2 managing directors. At the Stiftung, the foundation, we have a managing director. So I meet and build goals, plans, concepts together with them to improve our operational efficiency. So in that sense, the strategy part is probably the third pillar, and all of them, I guess, are pretty equal. So I'm in lots of meetings, I write lots of emails, I go to lots of events, I write stuff, I speak at podcasts. So it's quite, thankfully, and that's the good part about my job, I think, not monotonous.
Okay, a quick follow-up. Which tool do you use? Like, okay, normal Microsoft Teams, Apple Calendar, or do you have like specific planning tools?
I have a big stack of tools. So we use, I use Google Calendar. I live in my calendar. We use Notion to generally organize our work. I use Obsidian as a second brain, so where I try to structure all my thoughts and all the things I want to remember and don't have space in my main brain. I use Akiflow as a to-do and scheduling app. What else we use? Of course, Google Drive for all kinds of documents.
A lot of accounts.
For mails, lots of accounts, lots of tools that are all talking to each other, which is important. And my actual wish is that very soon, and I do believe this will happen in the next half year, all of this will be in one AI, and I can access all these different things at the same time.
Yeah, we students wish for that too. So.
Yeah, I only know Microsoft and Notion, but I know some that I have to try out as well. Yeah. But you have mentioned before all the teams you worked with, your own startup, also AustrianStartups. So our question is, across all the teams you have worked with, what separates a good and successful team from not so successful team which gets stuck, so to say?
Yeah, especially maybe focus on startups.
Yeah. The focus on startups, I do believe the most important aspect is that you are absolutely obsessed with the problem that you want to solve with your project, with your startup. So there need to be a lot of passion, a lot of belief, a lot of persistence to go through all the ups and downs that come with starting a startup. This is really, and I think you don't see that from the outside, but very often your personal identity then gets somehow mixed up with the corporate identity, or the startup identity. So this is also not always healthy, but it happens. And that means every setback there is really tough mentally. So to go through these lows and not give up on the way, that needs a lot of belief and persistence. And I think that's definitely something that sets the successful ones apart, because very often things don't work out for quite a long time. It's somehow scrappy, it's keep digging, keep somehow finding that product market fit, and only after often years you get to the point where it's actually working. Of course there's exceptions, and sometimes it works earlier, and that's great, of course, but there's the stories where people for years work on something that's not working, and then they finally find the thing that actually makes it work, and only then it goes up. And most of the teams stop before they go to this point. So this is, in a startup setting, I think the most important success factor.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Thank you for
and
your
that's
advice.
our valuable insights, because obviously we students don't really have it. I mean, obviously we have the opportunity to do internships in startups, but we don't get that insights, of course. So maybe change the perspective a little bit. So let's assume you graduate now or in 2026. Which area would you choose to build your career in? Maybe would you choose a different path, or would you exactly do the same? Or maybe would you like work in consulting for, I don't know, becoming a better presenter or whatever, a better analyst?
No. Probably doesn't surprise you now. I think in my personal career I wouldn't change much, because I really do something that I'm very passionate about, and that I strongly believe is extremely important, and that's a privilege. And I think that, but there's also a very good fit between my personality and my job. In general, if I would now graduate, I think I would, and as a SIMC student now, I think this is where I see this is outliers, people who are very ambitious, people who really want to achieve a lot, who want to have an impact. And for me, then the goal would definitely be to be an entrepreneur. I think this is the highest leverage activity that you can pick. It is where success is the amount and the amount of impact, the amount of success that you can have is nowhere as big as in entrepreneurship. If the most ambitious people should start companies. That's my core belief. Of course, again, I think the best way to do that is to just get it done, to just start doing it. If you don't feel you're quite ready yet, then ideally work in a startup.
Yeah, that sounds
that
makes
sense now
information for us.
After our conversation.
And you can. It's up to you. The last question.
So as we noticed from your CV or LinkedIn, and also from this conversation, you're a person who always pushes forward, builds, innovates a lot. So we were wondering, what is your goal for the next couple of years? Which position would you still aim for, or something that you want to try out in the next couple of years?
Maybe even a dream position.
Yeah.
So you can do one realistic and one unrealistic.
I'm not sure if there's so much difference.
Okay.
So my life goal, and this won't change, is to make Europe, and with that also Austria, the best place to build companies. The place where entrepreneurship, it's like the capital of entrepreneurship. I do believe this is absolute key if we want to keep our living standards, if we want our country with the values that are important to us, if we want that to survive, to keep existing. I think we need strong cultural change in this direction. Currently, we are not competitive. It doesn't matter what kind of statistics you look like, what kind of metrics you look like, we are far behind. And that's the reality. And I want to change this. And I think this is what we're doing with all the organizations and hats that I'm representing. And I think this ecosystem that we've built is already quite strong in this direction. I think one missing piece still in this ecosystem might be the actual funding for the company. So we're doing a lot now in building this pipeline. We are in schools. We're having a program that might also be interesting for SIMCs. It's called Entrepreneur Leadership Program, where we actually try to help make that step. High potentials, interdisciplinary group, similar spirit to SIMC. We help them for a year with mentoring, with workshops, with co-founder matching to actually get going. So I think we are building that new wave of entrepreneurship, and of course, then we're sending them out there, and many of them, of course, find investors out there without us. But I do believe in this ecosystem to have some entity that funds startups that are coming out of this pipeline. I think this could make sense still, but yeah, let's see.
Perfect. So I would say slowly we touch upon the 30 minutes mark. Thank you for being with us today. It was a pleasure to talk with you about things you're very passionate about. I think the audience got it, that you will continue a path in entrepreneurship, innovation, advising like economies in this term, but doing your stuff as well on the side. Thank you for being here today. And to the audience, we're looking forward to the next episode, which will be with a manager of EY Parthenon. And so do not miss it. Yeah, see you next time. Perfect. Thank you. Last word for you. No, nothing to add. Thanks a lot for the invitation, and enjoy your time in SIMC, and then understand that it's also your responsibility to build the future.